Today in Across the Fence, a program that's boosting Vermont's economy by helping farms profit, succeed, and grow. We're going to learn about the farm viability programs that support value-added products, marketing, and business planning. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. University of Vermont Extension offers a wide range of farm viability programs to help accelerate farm business development. At the core of Extension's Farm Viability Program is providing business management assistance that meets the needs of a wide variety of farm managers across the state. To find out more, I'm joined this afternoon by Mark Cannella. Mark is the Agricultural Financial Management Specialist with UVM Extension, who oversees the variety of farm viability programs. Welcome to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, what does the UVM Extension Farm Viability Program do? I know you wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, we do. I think at our core, we specialize in individualized one-on-one business planning programs. So we're set up to be out on the farm, to meet with farms, owners, managers, and families at the kitchen table. Sometimes we're flipping over 5-gallon buckets in the barn, and we're having business meetings. We're talking about the management of the operation. So that means that we'll work with farms, we'll ask a lot of questions, we'll assess what's going on with the business now, we'll talk about ideas, we'll actually address learning goals for the farmer. That'll turn into some serious analysis on the farm plan and what they want to do, and then we'll work with them on a project to put the plan into writing and onto paper and to see that plan come into actual action.
And so that actually takes a couple of years.
Well, it depends for each program. We've got some short program slots where we might work for 4 to 6 months on some maybe specific budgeting projects. The full business planning process often takes anywhere from 8 to 12 months for the first plan. But then we work with farms usually on a 2-year basis to follow up with them after the plan is written.
So now how do you connect with the farmers? I mean, do they call you? Do you go farm to farm?
A little bit of both. Because we're UVM Extension, we've got programs all over the state. We've got workshops, we've got seminars, now we have webinars online. So we're always doing some form of business management programs that are exposing folks to financial management or maybe market management skills. Through those programs, we often offer the follow-up and say, if you've liked this program and you'd like to follow up in a more detailed way, perhaps you'd be a good candidate for our farm viability program. So we do outreach that way. We also have a lot of consultants and folks within our network that are on the ground that are working with farms in many different capacities, and they're often checking with farms, figuring out where they're at, figuring out if there's a really specific time or a need for a full business plan, and we'll recruit farms that way as well. We certainly have a website, we have information out there, and we will just get applications every month. We usually review a half a dozen that just come to us as well.
And so what are the goals of the program?
I think our goals are really twofold. At our core, certainly as an outreach component of the university, we're educators. So we're looking to meet with farms, we're looking to, like I said, assess where they're at in their management and work with them to develop some learning goals for what can advance their own skills as managers. And that's a really unique process to be able to sit with someone one-on-one, assess their business, and then work with them real time through their business issues to teach them and train them to advance their business. But also really we're, I think, accelerators of the business development process. When you're working with someone on those real world issues, we really do advance the process a lot quicker. Folks have ideas, but the business planning process forces us to take ideas, put them into action, and so we see a lot of things happen faster. For good reasons, we see things that get vetted out and get put into operation and are successful. We also see ideas that could have hung out for a long time. When we go through the process, we very quickly come to the conclusion that maybe it's not a viable idea, and the farm can move on and start to research other opportunities.
Because farms are a business.
Certainly. They certainly are. I often say that we call farmers farmers, but we work with business managers. It's easy to farm without having a business plan, but business managers have business plans, and we look for folks that want to think that way.
And it's critical, too, that you are able to go to the farm because farmers don't have a lot of time to meet in meetings and offices, and it has to be kind of on the fly.
Yeah, I think it's good that you mentioned that. We are set up to be out at the farm, and that's the environment where we learn about the operation. We can see the operation, we can see the management styles, we can see the communication patterns between a family member and another family member, or potentially an owner and an employee. So that's essential. But make no mistake, we put a lot of time in these projects. We often sit for an hour and a half to 3 hours, and we lay it out to folks. If they want to work with us on our program, there's a real serious commitment that they're going to make to turning this initial idea of a plan into a final product, and we put dozens of hours into these projects.
Well, to understand how farmers and facilitators come together on a plan, we're going to visit a farm in Shoreham. The farm's owner enrolled in a farm viability program and worked with the program consultants.
I'm a facilitator. I try to get them to think outside the box, or give them ideas, or you try to look at the resources that are here as opposed to maybe try to, do some big expansion or something like that. Let them, how can you generate income from the resources that you already have?
It's not so much that they give you the solutions on a piece of paper, hey, do this and you'll be okay. It's all about asking the right questions to make you think. We needed somebody to kind of hold our hand, if you will, and say, okay, make sure you don't lose focus here, make sure you don't lose focus there. We really kind of needed a business plan. We were just kind of not doing things just by the seat of our pants. We certainly had a plan, but to actually sit down and write it out, that's a whole lot different than having a plan in your head.
We get the help, we get the expertise, but we still have to do work. We got to implement the ideas that they're coming up with. I mean, it's up to us to implement that and to make sure that we use, the information and properly, and to have it benefit us. So yes, that's definitely still up to us. Yeah.
Mark, would you say that that's pretty typical about how farmers sort of respond to working with farm viability?
Yeah, I think so. A couple really key points came out of that. I think you mentioned hand-holding, and there's an essential role for us to facilitate this process, to take an idea and to be on someone and create some accountability. And farms get a huge value out of that, someone that can actually work with them in their world and move the thing forward. And I also heard, the aspect of expertise. We do bring quite a bit of expertise to the table. And that's the balance between us facilitating a conversation, asking those hard questions, hearing how their response is, and then prompting them maybe with another element of some specialized knowledge we have to kind of move it forward for them.
Right, and for that particular farmer, it was more like, but don't forget your other job too and what you're focusing on with this new venture. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. In that case, very typical, farms want to diversify. In the case of dairy farms, they're always looking for some way to manage the risk of the milk market. And so the idea of maybe a value-added product, in this case yogurt, it's a very appealing idea. But boy, that's a very different business than running a dairy and just milking cows. And so the process allows us to have those conversations of what do you actually need to do? What does this business need? And laying it out in the plan.
Mm-hmm. And so, we were talking earlier before we started the program, and you said that you're not there to dash people's dreams. You're not there just to say, that's not a good idea. You're there to really just show people how to work their way through the finances and planning to see if, in fact, it is a good idea.
Yeah, I think certainly we all have this idea of outcomes and seeing successful businesses and seeing great ideas turn into profitable businesses. But really at our core as educators, we're looking to improve people's ability to learn. Our goal is to help them on a business plan and teach them the process. We know agriculture is going to change in 5 years and 8 years. If we can teach them how to write a plan now for the yogurt business, in 7 years when it's time to write a business plan for something else, we're hoping that they're going to then have the skills to take that planning process to the next level, hopefully internally. And we might be there to help and we might not be, but they won't be looking for us just to guide them through it again necessarily.
And so what you do too is different for every farm.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be something as simple as teaching someone how to use, I think you were talking about, computer images and so forth, to figuring out how to buy a piece of equipment if that's what they need.
Yeah, we've got a lot of different options within our farm viability program. It's sometimes confusing for folks. We generally take in an application, and we ask folks in the application what they're looking for, and then from that, we decide if we think this is someone that needs to just work with one of our team members for 2 or 3 meetings to do some budgeting. Perhaps maybe it's a financial projection that they can take to the lender because they've got a piece of equipment they've got in mind. In other cases, farms are really looking for that deeper dive, full business plan, where there's a strategy, there's a vision, there's a goal behind wanting that piece of equipment that really needs to be vetted out across the whole business. So we try to provide those different options, and it might be a couple meetings, it might be a multi-month process. We can work that out through the initial assessments.
So who are some of the people that you work with?
We've got a lot of great people that contribute to these projects. We've got a core staff, myself included. We've got 4 people statewide that are based at offices but run the roads and visit farms all over the state working with the plans. We also rely on a huge network of consultants. We couldn't pull this type of work off without having marketing specialists, legal specialists. We saw Alan Curley there, a business management specialist. He's a lead advisor. We need those people to take certain parts of projects and to help advance them.
So really, when a farmer contacts you, you can decide which tool in your toolbox is going to work best for them.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. When people apply, they circle business planning. And then we have to go and have a meeting with them and discuss, well, business planning comes in different forms. And we talk about which is the form that maybe they've got the capacity to commit to right now as far as a plan, the time frame, how quickly they need an answer. That's going to relate to kind of what we pull out of the toolbox. All those things kind of come together for us to develop a work plan with a farm. So they've got an expectation of getting something tangible right off the bat or where they need it. And then also for us as educators, we want to make sure that we're going to direct the right learning approach or teaching style to them so that they pick up something along the way.
Do you get calls when people are sort of at the end of their rope?
Yeah. Yep. 2 of those last week, actually. And
really?
Those are really challenging because there's no doubt that the business world operates at a certain pace and a certain reality that farm owners deal with on a day-to-day basis. And when we get those calls, we have to decide how can we add value to their process in a way where the expectations can be clear. Because when we get those calls, we can't say we're going to help save your farm. We can say, well, we can offer different programs. Tell me which one you think can help you advance the things you need to do as a manager. But certainly under the stress of having a business that's not doing very well, you can imagine those are pretty emotionally charged conversations and decisions.
Also, too, you know, you deal not just with one person usually on a farm, but it's usually a family.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of dynamics with that.
There are a lot of dynamics with that. Yeah, well, I think our process is pretty good in that when we're working on a business plan, we clarify through a management plan section who are the decision makers on the farm. We talk about communication patterns on the farm, business meetings, schedules. That's part of the process, and that is very revealing, I think, for a family, potentially a farm family that's worked for generations together, but maybe not thought of themselves as a business. We can use the process to help them understand the different roles they play, and that gets at some of the communication, and whether it's functional or not functional, we can at least try to steer it towards a way that could be more productive.
Mm-hmm. What about profitability? Is that always the bottom line?
Well, it is the bottom line on financial statements, but we know we call ourselves the Farm Viability Program for a reason, in that profitability is certainly essential in the long run. Farms have to be profitable to have staying power and to stay in business. But there's a lot of other things that are important to management and the viability or the ability for the farm to work for, say, another year or 2 or 3 years. So our process is not so focused on saying, let's get this thing profitable now. Our process is about listening and figuring out if there's maybe a conservation goal, perhaps there's like a market diversification goal. In a lot of cases, you might trade off short-term profitability in order to get a strategy in place that's going to work out over the long term. Mm-hmm. And our job is to be able to grab all of those items and then help prioritize which one is really critical for the farm to move forward with.
Mm-hmm. A lot of farms, we talked about family, a lot of farms will continue their work through the generations, and oftentimes the younger generation might have an idea to do something totally different.
Yes.
And so I guess it's, you help to trying to figure out if that's going to work.
Yeah, certainly. We actually have a specific program track that are farm transfer plans or succession plans that really get right at that, especially with 2 different generations on the farm, where we're looking at the business operating and maybe making a change under the current management pattern. But with the transfer plan process, we also open up the door to say, maybe it's time for different parties to become involved or become decision makers, or maybe become partial owners. And that's a really unique process, to have the family at the table, take a new idea like a diversification plan, and understand from a business standpoint, how is that going to happen? Who's going to own it? Who's going to run it? Who's going to take the risk? And who may take the credit for things? A
lot of decisions.
Decision makers, yeah, that's what it's all about.
So how can someone get more information about farm viability programs?
Sure. Well, you might run into us on the road quite a bit, but we've got a website there with UVM extension, and we also have a phone number that'll lead back to our main office in Berlin. That phone number is 866-860-1382, and folks are welcome to visit our website. The UVM extension website is www.uvm.edu/extension/agriculture. And if you look on the left side, you'll see the farm viability slot. And we've also just launched our own blog, which has a resource library and a lot of different tools that we use in the field, so farms could access that right off the internet.
Well, terrific. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-ATF-3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX-TV.